This woman is not scaring herself for fun. She is undergoing treatment for her spider phobia using a virtual reality game. Dr. Stéphane Bouchard is a cyber psychologist. Let's have a look at the one on the right, the little spider over there. Can you get a bit closer to it? A little bit, yes. Good. So your anxiety level between 0 and 10? What's your estimate? About 9?
Environ 9.
Perfect. We're going to take our time. We're going to let her tame her fear over there without avoiding it, then wait until it drops in a moment or two. We'll talk about it straight away. Okay? It is widely believed that realism is needed to stimulate fear in phobics, but that's not exactly true. Phobics experience fear in virtual reality because their fear is an emotion. Emotions are not logical. You just need certain ingredients, interactivity, a minimum of realism. And there you have it. The scene is set, people will react with anxiety. The essential element of an effective treatment of anxiety problems and specific phobias lies in taming one's fears. But how will the patient react when she sees a real spider? Okay, we're going to try to measure the progress we've made. So 6 weeks ago, at the beginning of treatment, you even refused to come here, even if the tarantula was 3 meters away from you. Now, I'd like you to make it approach as close as possible by pressing the button. In these modified games, the main character, the patient, is not fighting an enemy but his or her own fear. The idea is to gradually expose the patient to increasingly phobic situations. Big improvement since the beginning. If you want, do you think you might even be able to think about squashing it?
Oui.
Yes? Pick up those magazines over there. Okay. Then off you go. Okay. Okay. That's good. Looking at effectiveness, we have found that 6 to 8 weeks of treatment are necessary. 1 session a week in virtual reality, which is comparable, both as far as effectiveness and methods are concerned, with the more traditional therapy in which patients learn to tame their fears with live spiders or photos. With these images, more than 80% of cases, almost all in fact, are cured. It is fascinating to see to what point these specific phobias can be incapacitating. For example, there is one woman I met who had to sell her house because one day a spider crawled underneath her refrigerator. No one was ever able to find the spider. She was obliged to sell. Fear of spiders often has multiple origins. But one thing is sure, we see a certain genetic predisposition in people. The appearance of avoidance behavior that never gives them a chance to tame the thing that frightens them. Of course, the cinema had no choice but to exploit the visceral repulsion that spiders incite. Hollywood writers and producers challenge each other with their imaginations to come up with the most extravagant scripts. Those ferocious creatures that invade us and hunt us down in our own living rooms. They are gigantic, or they have mutated after some nuclear accident.
A tiny insect into the 100-foot spider.
The penchant for spider invasions began in the 1950s, at a time when certain subconscious fears, fed by the nuclear arms race and the Cold War, inspired numerous disaster stories. The theme of animal gigantism was central to Tarantula and many other Hollywood productions. Spiders that terrorize and kill, what better fodder for our morbid urges? An inexhaustible source of spine-chilling emotions before our very eyes. But how do spiders see us, in fact? This is what Professor Dan Erik Nielsen is trying to understand by studying spiders' eyes.
Human vision is far superior to spider vision, and the reason for that is that the eyes of nearly all animals are limited by the laws of physics, which means that you need a large eye to see well, and spiders with their much smaller eyes, of course, can't see as well as humans. But if you think of the giant spiders of horror movies, they of course have large eyes and potentially very good vision. So if those spiders were real, considering not just the fact that their eyes were large, but also the fact that they've got 8 eyes rather than 2, they would potentially, in that sense, pose a threat to humankind.
Dan Erik Nielsen has continued to make improvements to his optical devices. Based on one simple idea, spiders, like cats, have particularly reflective retinas. Everything the spider sees is reflected on the retina, even weakly. Amplifying with multiple sets of optics, Dan obtains incredible images from a spider's eye, finer than a grain of sand.
Most animals make do with a single pair of eyes. Spiders are a bit unusual because they've got 8 eyes, and in most spiders that make webs, those 8 eyes are actually not particularly good, and those spiders mainly rely on vibration sense. But most hunting spiders have instead evolved their eyes into very good sensory organs, and they rely mainly on vision for their capture of prey.
Spiders that do not spin webs are capable of making spectacular jumps, up to 50 times their size, to capture their victims. Jumping spiders see 8 times less well than we do. The difference is slight, since many insects see 100 times less well than we do, and often even less. Professor Dan Erik Nielsen has specialized in understanding how the eyes of animals work. However, spiders' eyes have done more than hold all his attention. In fact, he willingly uses the electron microscope to observe the eyes of these aliens, magnified several thousand times. Many species of spiders have 8 eyes, but some are special in that they have only 2, 4, or 6. The number of eyes can also change when the animal reaches adulthood or depending on its lifestyle. When these eyeballs are magnified several thousand times, Dan obtains a nightmarish vision reminiscent of B movies. It is not just in the spider's eyes that we can find answers to why the spider incites so many fears and fantasies. It is also in its behavior. Formidable predators, the females of certain species devour the male after coupling. The writer, Michael Cazenave, is trying to share his interest in the behavior of spiders as portrayed in the cinema and literature. The fantasy of the Spider-Woman is certainly one of the most widespread because it's found at practically every epoch and in all places, and it undoubtedly refers back to a fundamental fear, I believe, that humans are not willing to admit about an animal that devours us as we are making love to it. So there is this idea, which in fact we find more or less everywhere, that at the end of a woman's vagina is a spider's nest that waits to devour us, to make us disappear.
C'est pas drôle. Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire? Qu'est-ce que vous faites? Mais c'est pas sérieux. Qu'est-ce que vous avez? Je vous en prie, arrêtez.
Il y a toujours dans la
In the male constitution, there is always, I would say, on one hand, an absolutely extraordinary fear, which is, will I be able to make love? At the same time, there is this idea, in my impotence, is there not something that will be taken, captured by the woman, as if in some way she were extracting some vital essence from us? What is quite astonishing is that the spider seems to occupy the dreams and fantasies of the whole of humanity, absolutely everywhere, and curiously, the idea of male and female spiders doesn't come into it. The spider is always female. That is to say, the female is always at the center of a metaphorical web, if you like. She waits for the male to capture him in her net and manipulate him, and in the end devour him. The man-eaters have for the most part feminine-sounding names: black widow, tarantula, mygale. Their very names evoke a mixture of fantasies and chills. Whatever their size, this one measures just a few millimeters, their shape and their impressive fangs crystallize our fears. Indeed, when magnified several hundred times, the smallest spiders that populate our daily lives resemble the most terrifying mygales. However, out of the 45,000 species of spiders known today, only a dozen present a real danger to humans. The Atrax spider, funnel web, is considered the most dangerous. In Australia, more and more cases of skin necrosis and gangrene due to bites from this spider are being recorded. Yet this very aggressive species has been responsible for only 13 deaths between 1927 and 1985, the date when an antidote was made available in hospitals. However, even today, these bites can cause almost irreparable damage to the skin. The Atrax are surely amongst the most dangerous spiders in the world. Their venom directly attacks the nervous system and can lead to death from as early as 15 minutes up to 3 days after the bite. The venom has two roles: to kill, but also to dissolve the inside of the victim, to enable the spider to ingest it through a straw, like a milkshake. Australians have learned to live with the Atrax, but many confuse them with other species.
I found this spider in my backyard and I was just wondering if you knew what kind it was or whether it was dangerous.
Yeah, can I have a... Yeah, that's actually, in fact, a male funnel-web spider, the most deadly spider in the world. That's pretty good. Just be careful if you're gardening, and if you catch any more up, we'll love to take them here at the park.
The public are good suppliers of Atrax for the University of Sydney. Spider venom has become a veritable subject of fascination for modern science.
We're interested in the Atrax species of spiders because they produce around about 600 compounds in their venom. So these are, many of which are very toxic to insects. So these compounds can potentially be developed as insecticidal agents because they're highly selective for insect species.
In fact, certain components of the venom act only on the nervous systems of insects. They could be isolated and integrated into insecticides against crop-destroying pests. Israeli researchers have also shown that Atrax venom systematically induces prolonged penile erections. A Viagra substitute is thus under investigation. The venom acts on the nervous system, unlike Viagra, which induces vascular dilatation. In the near future, it may become possible to use a peptide, that is a group of proteins from the venom, for therapeutic purposes.
We think that this natural peptide derived from spider venom can be used as therapy for a variety of diseases associated with mechanical defects. These include muscular dystrophy, cardiac arrhythmias, incontinence, and possibly brain tumors.
Dr. Sachs, an American researcher, has already succeeded in reproducing this peptide, code MTX4, found in the venom of the tarantula. This peptide appears to be particularly effective in controlling heart rhythm.
Okay, Tom, here comes. I'm going to send you some MTX4 and we're going to see what happens. Tom, look at this thing. This is a sick muscle cell. It should just be lying there quietly, but it's not. This is a dystrophic muscle cell and it shouldn't be doing this. I think we can block this with the spider peptide.
Used in humans, this peptide could immobilize the cells responsible for deregulating the heart muscle. Its principle of action? To block the cells that cause an uncontrolled increase in contractions without affecting the cells associated with normal rhythm. With infinite care, Dr. Sachs manipulates the synthetic peptide, which is priced at over $2,000 for 1 milligram. You could say that tarantulas are dear to his heart.
Come on, take it easy. Relax.
However, the future of spider venom may also lie in its action on the brain. In brain tumors, we know that the presence of cancer cells induces other cells to release chemicals that promote tumor growth. It would be beneficial then to be able to block them.
Rosie. Rosie is our pet tarantula. She's over 30 years old, and she serves as our laboratory mascot. We actually haven't taken venom from her because she's too much of a friend. But we take venom, we started out with venom from her relatives.
Despite appearances, Mrs. Huang is not a farmer. She breeds tarantulas for Chinese medicine. In fact, she has one of the biggest giant spider farms. At first, my spiders lived in my house. One day, some neighbors who were visiting me came face to face with one of them. They said, "Aren't they very dangerous?" And I replied that they were good for our health. Mrs. Huang's spiders are recommended for rheumatism. The Chinese have not waited for modern science to tell them that diluted spider venom can be used to treat all sorts of ills. Taste it, taste it. Can you tell what it is? No? What is it? Spiders. It's spider wine. Oh, really? Apparently her spider wine is effective since she receives many orders for it from all over China. Some of her patients use it for toothache, kidney problems, paralysis, and with the addition of dates, to treat inflammation. Every week, Mrs. Huang makes deliveries to the traditional pharmacies that buy her spiders in wine or dried form. Look, there are even more nests here. This one must be big. Yes, today we found quite a few. There's sure to be a big spider in this one. The entrance is really wide. Mrs. Huang is happy with her catch. Damn! It bit me! Mrs. Huang has been bitten more than 20 times. One day she had to be hospitalized, but she has never given up. When I was younger, I was afraid of spiders. But one day, I lost my job, so I started breeding spiders. At first, I looked for them in the mountains. But for some time now, there are fewer and fewer spiders. That's why I started a spider farm. Now I have 50,000 spiders. The finest specimens gathered in the mountains are destined for breeding. The others will be drowned in the elixir wine to conserve, according to Mrs. Huang, all their potential energy. The elixir can also be drunk for its aphrodisiac properties. Each month, Mrs. Huang takes the bus with her frightening load of tarantulas. Goal: to deliver fresh venom to the medical institute for its pharmacopoeia. Might the spider be an eight-legged pharmacy in reality? Not exclusively, because besides spider venom, scientists are also interested in spider silk. Not all spiders use their silk in the same way. Some spin webs with differing patterns, the threads more or less close together. Other species can produce up to 8 different sorts of silk, depending on how it is to be used. Silk for the web, for security, for cocoons, for wrapping up prey, etc. This variety is made possible by the existence of different glands, each producing silk of a different quality. The silk is in fact a twined rope made up of 15 to 20 threads. These microfilaments intertwine to form an assemblage 1,000 times finer than a hair. These threads are amongst the finest known to science, and no man-made machine built by humans to date would be capable of reproducing them. When the silk trap is magnified several thousand times with the microscope, we can see the balls of glue that enable the prey to be held more easily. In addition, the thread cannot give way. It is twice as solid as our Kevlar, which is used for bulletproof vests. It is acid-resistant and more elastic than nylon. Spider silk needs to be extremely strong because the spider regularly leaps into the void to attain the speed required for efficient web spinning. For decades, many researchers have been attempting to copy the super properties of spider silk.
I'm not really Spider-Man. We study spider silk because it has the potential to produce products that really can benefit mankind. In the Spider-Man movie, the diameter of the silk that he shoots out is actually much bigger than he needs. Our calculations are that for most of the things that he was doing, the diameter he needs is 1 or 2 millimeters, not. This one should be ready to silk today.
Professor Randolph V. Lewis has a miniature breeding farm for Nephilus spiders. These giant spiders can spin webs larger than 1 meter in diameter. They can provide up to 500 meters of silk thread in a harvest.
So in order to produce commercial amounts of spider silk, it's really not possible to use spiders. The problem is they're territorial and we simply can't collect large enough quantities for any sort of a commercial application.
The artificial and industrial production of spider silk fiber is the subject of research of a dozen teams around the world. The solution, according to Randolph V. Lewis, is genetics in plants. By inserting specific spider genes into plants, Professor Randolph V. Lewis seems to have found the ideal factories for the mass production of spider silk proteins. Other research teams have chosen bacteria or even goat milk for duplicating spider silk proteins genetically and industrially. However, Randolph V. Lewis is more convinced by his super plants.
We chose alfalfa plants because they don't carry viruses and other kinds of infective material like might be found in bacteria. And secondly, there's a fear of viruses if we produce the silk in animals.
This is the silk thread produced from a mixture of plants. The fiber produced from plants is much more elastic than nylon and totally biodegradable. The Army has already expressed interest for its bulletproof clothing, but the fiber could also be used in the production of biomaterials for aeronautical use. the strings of tennis rackets, airbags, or surgical suture material. Stretch tests prove the superior quality of the fibre. 5 times stronger than steel, twice as flexible as nylon, and able to be stretched by 40% before breaking. Are scientists now challenging what 400 million years of spider silk evolution has produced? Frenchman Gerard Phobia is convinced that spider breeding is possible on a large scale, and that there is no need at all to call upon artificial silk for certain productions. He has in fact created his own system of silk extraction. His workers, Madagascar Nephelis spiders, are attached by their abdomens and isolated in individual cages. The thread is drawn out and wound using a small motor at a rate of 200 meters of silk per hour and per spider. Gerard Phobia sees no reason why spider silk should not be marketed, given that the silk from the cocoons of Bombyx murray has been collected in a non-industrial fashion for 50 centuries. During the reign of Louis XIV, due to a lack of sufficiently large spiders in France, silk was collected from their cocoons. Indeed, all female spiders wrap their eggs in a protective silk cocoon. This cocoon consists of silk threads of different diameters, which makes spinning a delicate task. Despite this difficulty, Louis XIV was the first sovereign to wear socks and a vest made of spider silk. Gerard Phobia feels that, given the abundance of Nephelis spiders in Madagascar, many unemployed people could be given jobs collecting silk. Already in the 19th century, the missionary Paul Comboé carried out the first industrial trials of spider silk weaving in Madagascar. Father Comboé produced this fabric for the 1901 Universal Exhibition in Paris, a piece measuring 3 by 5 meters and requiring 400 to 500,000 spiders. These numbers may appear enormous, but are comparable with the production figures of the Bombyx silkworm. These immense web frames enabled the spiders to maintain their territories. At their feet, perfumed plants attracted insects to the webs in great numbers. This belt has been woven entirely from spider silk. Fabrics made of spider silk have a more subtle glow than those made from Bombyx silk. The great couturiers have made no mistakes in this matter. They love spider silk and demand it for working textiles in new ways. You don't suffer from spider phobia? Spiderwebs, no. Spiders, yes, but because I've made a small scarf with about a square meter, a little more even, of spider web, and I'd like you to put it on. It's the first time for me, you know. Oh yes, it's superb. Oh, it's magnificent. It's original, and in any case, it's very pleasant. Oh yes, very beautiful. Jean-Luc Brunio is an artist. He uses the web directly to make clothes. So yes, this one, compared to the first, what do you think? Yes, it's very attractive, this one. Yes, the woman's completely trapped. Yes, but it's for seduction after all, and she's also going to trap the other. A dress made out of spider web is as attractive as the spider web is repulsive, because I think the feel of spider web on the skin is even more expressive, erotic, sensual, sexual. So all these things are contained in the spider web. Jean-Luc Brunio collects the raw materials that inspire his artistic imagination in attics. I intend to create underwear. Spiderweb may be highly evocative when it's coloured red and white like menstrual napkins, as it may when extremely light and transparent be compared to a veil with all the erotic qualities of the veil. For example, when we paint a torn house spider web black, it is hard not to think of a woman's stocking that has been mistreated during some encounter or another. Jean-Luc Brunio is an artist with more than one string to his bow. His spider works include paintings in which he uses 3 types of spider silk. A kind of web within a web. Working with the silk of the past and of the future, he plays with the paradoxes of this material. While the web symbolizes the past, it is also a material of the future. It appears fragile, yet the silk is so strong. It sets off phobic reactions, but it can appear magnificent when covered in frost or morning dew. Jean-Luc Brunio's paintings are traps for emotions. Jean-Luc finds the finest specimens in old farms. Sometimes the webs stretch over more than 7 meters. These 8-legged workers work untiringly at night to provide him with his raw material. In a few weeks, his paintings will perhaps fascinate the most implacable of spider phobics. Professor Bertrand Kraft also has a profound interest in the virtues of spider webs. Spiders capture insects with their webs. The webs are nets, and of course the number of insects captured depends on the size of the net and the number of available prey. We have observed that in a plentiful environment, spiders build small webs, and in a poor environment, spiders build big webs, that is, big nets. So why this adaptation? For economical reasons, because the web is made entirely of silk. Silk is protein, and protein is expensive. In Guyana, to save their silk proteins, certain species of spiders have even grouped together to live in the one gigantic web. An association that goes against nature, since spiders are usually cannibal and 99% are solitary. Thanks to this strange association, they are able to capture prey more than 700 times their own weight, whereas solitary spiders rarely attack game bigger than themselves. Through vibrations in the web, the attack signal is given, and dozens of spiders run to do battle. Their meal will be shared by the whole community. The spider society is anarchy, without structure, hierarchy, king or chief. And yet it functions in a harmonious way, enough to send chills up the spines of politicians, since there is no need for hierarchy. However, the spiders appear to obey and follow without argument the stick that Bertrand Kraft waves like an animal trainer. In fact, all they do is follow the vibrations propagated by the silk. Their ability to detect movements ranging from a millimeter to a nanometer is due to the multitude of hairs and sensors distributed over their bodies and their 8 legs. To perceive the vibrations better, the spiders move forward in jerky movements. At each pause, the hairs and sensors pick up the slightest movements and tremors of the web. In a way, the entire structure of this society of social spiders is hanging by a thread. Without politicians or architects, they build webs that can measure up to 50 meters long. In contrast to perfectly geometrical webs, these look chaotic. No obvious architectural rules, and yet this immense web tent is held up by guy lines. On closer inspection, we find the same principles of tension used in suspended bridges. These spiders can make their web without an overall vision, each one being content to fill an empty space or add a thread here and there to increase the strength of a supporting cable. This interlacing of webs is chaotic merely in appearance. It is the silk that enables the spiders to communicate, to organize themselves, and thus create these web superstructures. We came up with the idea that each individual must react in the same way as its neighbors to the vibratory information transmitted by the silk. Based on this idea, we created a computer model using 1. The principle that the spiders do not fight amongst themselves, 2. That all the spiders react in the same way to the information, and that there is cooperation, in other words, a sort of social intelligence. This collective intelligence has already found applications in image treatment software. These virtual spiders are busying themselves on Bertrand Kraft's portrait to improve its sharpness. Applied to robotics and information technology, the strategy of social spiders enables reactive and independent systems to be created. Rather than building a highly sophisticated and onerous single robot for a given purpose, it is preferable to make dozens of very simple small robots that can communicate with each other as the social spiders do, and which, through their collective intelligence, can resolve a certain number of problems. The advantage is that, should one of the robots malfunction, the mission does not become impossible. Collective intelligence can arise in simple individuals, as long as there is some connection between them. The networks of the future will be organized in this way. But how do jumping spiders, those who don't spin webs, communicate? Professor Andrew Mason has discovered that some of them dance to make the ground vibrate.
Okay, if we position the female here, then we have the option of moving the laser to any of these points so we can get the best signal possible. We studied jumping spiders, and they don't hear what we hear. In fact, they don't have ears in the sense that we do, so they are not sensitive to airborne sound. They perceive the signals that they use as vibrations in the ground, so they feel them through their feet rather than hear them with something like ears. Okay, I'm going to line up the high-speed camera.
Using this high-speed camera and a laser frequency recorder, Professor Andrew Mason has recorded the jumping spider's dance of seduction.
All right, sounds good. Okay, you get this camera into a little...
This time, the dancer hasn't caught its partner on the right side. Did the message not get through? Even spider couples have communication problems. In China, spiders do not dance, they work. They are employed for killing game in rice fields. Some of them, wolf spiders, even wait in ambush for their prey, which they take by surprise by overturning them. They are excellent hunters, hence their name. Professor Hang Mei Yen tries to increase awareness among the farmers about using spiders rather than systematically calling upon insecticides. Even though the method may appear rudimentary, the United States and France have also begun to recruit spiders as natural pesticides to protect their vines. Today I'm going to talk to you about spiders that kill insects. In other words, we can use spiders to kill rice field pests and thus increase the rice harvest. The first harvest is already finished. This field is waiting to be ploughed. When the field is flooded with water, we put hay down to collect the spiders. Look, when the water comes, the spiders take refuge on the hay. And then we collect the hay full of spiders and we put them in the fields for the second harvest where the rice has just been planted. In certain regions of China, farmers have thus succeeded in improving their harvests by hiring wolf spiders as natural pesticides. But even with films and propaganda, the taboos stand firm. I think spiders are very dirty and repulsive. Why do you say they are good? They kill for food, especially the insects that eat rice, so they are very useful. First step, the spider injects its poison into the insect. Then it covers it with saliva to destroy the tissues. Today, a practical session. We are going to learn how to put hay in the field for transferring the spiders. Do like me. And then we're going to take the hay and put it in another field to protect the spiders. Professor Hangmei Yen has calculated that cultivated land contains no fewer than 1 million spiders of all sizes per hectare. So why deprive yourself of these unsalaried workers? Look, the spiders are climbing onto the hay. This proves that this method is very effective. We can use this method to protect the spiders and the harvest. Do you understand? In the 1960s and 70s, our country began to use many pesticides to exterminate insect parasites. The insects strengthened their resistance, and pollution increased with the doses of pesticide. We know that spiders can combat these parasites without harming the plants. In addition, the spiders are plentiful and varied, so we must use them. In China, this technique has enabled a 50% decrease in the use of pesticides. To convince the most reticent farmers, scientists have counted the number of prey captured over 8 months by a single Argiope spider. The result, 900 prey. In southern Japan, as in China, many farmers do not treat their fields and rice paddies with chemicals, but allow spiders to keep the house clean. Given the abundance of insects, the spiders that develop here are gigantic. Mr. Seki lives with his spiders. He is not a farmer, even though in his office at the Kajiki Town Hall, his strange workmates are part of the decor. It is their story he is writing, the story of the fighting spiders. Spider fights are a tradition that dates back to the time of my grandfather's grandfather. I am working to perpetuate this tradition. It is my passion. I want to transmit the tradition to my son and to my son's son. Before, there were spider fights everywhere, but today only those in Kajiki remain. Despite the large number of spiders living in his office, Mr. Seki often goes hunting for new specimens. His objective? To find better 8-legged fighters for the next competition. Spiders with an aggressive instinct. The harvest is large, but few will be chosen to participate in the next fight. Already in his father's time, the best places for collecting spiders were kept secret. Back then, women did not have any contact with the spiders. Only men had the right to train them. This person, she does the same as your grandfather did with shoshu, a strong alcoholic beverage. Oh, really? When you do that, it sends the spiders into a rage. Why a rage? to make them more aggressive. The rules of the game have not changed. Placed on a stick, the spiders face each other, their silk threads like safety belts. The winner is the one who manages to remain on the stick and cut the thread of its opponent. For 4 centuries, as the Kumogasang, the spider fighting championship, approaches, the town of Kajiki is infused with great excitement. Satoshi, this year, our secret is to feed the spiders with hornets. I'm sure we're going to win. You have to believe it. Do you think this one is strong? Yes, this spider, it ate 4 hornets. It's the strongest one I have. It can win. Each trainer has his own secrets for training his spiders. Some dope the insects that the spiders eat with doping substances and throw cotton soaked in honey to stimulate them. Each one has his specific method for raising spiders. We don't know which is best, but everyone thinks it's his own technique. Go, go! They haven't bitten each other yet. Oh, that's it. It's been bitten. In spite of Mr. Seki's encouragement, his daughter still fears contact with the spiders. Look, it's been bitten on the backside. It's bleeding. The blood is brown. Human blood is red, but spiders have brown blood. Today it's a training session, but it's gone too far. Today the spiders are no longer allowed to kill each other, even if Westerners continue to call them samurai spiders. At last, the big day of the Kumogasang has arrived. 150 trainers have registered their best competitors. Each one must present 3 spiders to be able to participate in the fights. Mr. Seki can be proud. His entire family is there, even his daughter. 500 fights will be held during the Kumogasang before the great champion is designated. A spider must win 3 fights to gain access to the finals. It's number 1. No, it's only number 2. Not 1. No, the one, the strong one. I'll get it out later. Go on, go on. Go on. Cut, cut. Go on. Victory for Satoshi, Mr. Seki's son. The thread of the opponent's spider has been cut, but where has the loser gone? Fortunately, the victory is confirmed by the judges. It's falling, it's falling. Put your hand underneath it like that. Don't worry, it won't touch you, not your hand. Mr. Seki's daughter must stand up to last year's winner. The match will be difficult. Your turn. Okay, go on, go on. First round lost for Mr. Seki's daughter. Go on, go on. And the second, bad luck. Luckily, the Seki family still has its spider number 1. It could be the champion. This is a good fight. The one on top has gone underneath. Yes, they've changed places. Ah, we've lost. But it's not lost for everyone. After the fights, the spiders are released into the wild to reproduce and continue their life cycle in peace.